All right, so got our new seal right here, part number M84781. Seals are a little different than the old ones. This one did not want to come out all that quickly, but eventually got it out. I probably should have done that on video. So really quick, to get this on here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some grease, smear around the inside to make it slide over the shaft a little bit better. I am not excited about running it over the shaft. The length, I mean, obviously the shaft would have to go through here no matter what, but the fact that I have to push it all the way down to here and then tap it in makes me a little bit more nervous, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go get some grease, put on here, and then we'll put the seal in. All right, got my grease. I haven't seen very many places where you should put a seal in dry, but there are some places like that. I'm not a fan of doing such things because the last thing you want is an imperfection somewhere in the shaft to impact your seal. So what I'm going to do is just put this over the top, slide it on here. All the way down the shaft. I think what I'm going to do is actually get some more grease since it feels like I've used all of the grease that I put on there. It's one of those times where lube doesn't hurt anything. There we go. All right, so now there's my seal in there. So now to get it set in there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around with my brass hammer. Oops. And lightly tap. I have to use brass since I'm right up against the shaft right here. Now this actually has to be recessed in there a little bit because the snowblower augers will bounce back and forth slightly. So we do need to recess the seal back in there just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a larger punch that'll fit in here. Some way that I can spread the force out around the seal. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that, so I'm going to turn the video camera off while I ponder my options. Alright, so here's what I'm going to use. I just found a piece of aluminum in a box that I had. I think I'm going to use that to finish pushing this seal in there. And it is too wide. But at least I can get it level with the surface. And I think I've got a skinnier piece. And this is a piece of steel. Yep, that'll work. All right. I think we were right there where the old seal was. A bit farther on that edge right there. And there's our first seal in. Now, nice thing about this is our second seal should be considerably easier because we can do this on the bench top, not with the shaft sitting there. I mean, we still have to put it on the shaft, but we can put it in the cover first. So let me get set up on the bench and we'll put the second seal in. All right, so we're gonna get the seal in the cover here, and this should be pretty straightforward. We'll just start off with a hammer. Oops. So I might need to go get a large socket. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. How large of a socket? I think a 1 11/16 will do just fine. That's what we're going to use. Now, obviously, you could have a seal driver kit, something like that. I probably even have something like this, but this will work. Check, make sure it's going in straight. It is. So we're happy there. All right, so once again, just like on the previous one, you can't just stop here because that shaft, those augers will move back and forth, so you do have to recess it. Okay, that looks good right there. So now, time to flip the whole assembly over and put this back on the shaft and put it all back together. All right, so got our shaft and gearbox flipped upside down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and clean this surface up right here. I've already cleaned the surface of our cover. Set that right there. Get another shop towel. And I'm going to go ahead and run it around the outside like so. I'm also going to come in here, clean up the shaft right in here. Make sure it's all clean to the top. No dirt, dust that I'm going to, or no dirt really, that I'm going to squeeze into the case when I put the gasket on there. And then here's our gasket. Put our gasket on there like so. And then we can put our seal on there. Now I've got oil or grease once again on the seal. I already put it on there. We're going to attempt to orient this the correct way. I don't think it really matters, to be perfectly honest. Need some grease. Okay. So there's that. Now there's a bearing that had to go in there, which it feels like is in there. And what I have not done is I have not cleaned up these bolts. We'll go ahead and clean them up one at a time as I put them in. I should have done that already. Just like so. What's interesting to me is these are through bolts, but there was nothing on them, or at least from appearances, there was nothing on them that to stop oil, grease, or oil from gear oil from getting out. But I suppose if it worked for the previous 15 years, it should work again. Based on some date codes I found in here, it looks like this blower is from 05, which kind of jives with the machine that I got it off of. If you remember, and I may not even, I think I did a video series on it. I had a 1435 for a little while, and I bought this blower and switched out with the 47 that I had. All right, so it's all back together. So now we're just going to take and just kind of hand tighten them down real quick. And they don't want to do that, do they? I'm just going to kind of, I don't want to get them too tight yet. Still very much kind of a finger tight deal. Okay. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, now that I've got them all tightened once, I'm going to go ahead and tighten them the rest of the way. Like I said, these were not very tight to start with. No idea of the spec on them. Okay, according to my finely tuned arm, that's going to be acceptable. Hopefully it doesn't leak. So now what we can do is we can get the whole assembly back up on the table, and we can start putting it back together. We'll get the new bearings on it. I'll get the bearing journals cleaned up. I'll get this shaft I'll clean up this shaft right here, get some of the dust and rust and everything else off of it, and start putting this bad boy back together.